old ass games. I like them, but how old can the ass get before it's just a little bit too wrinkly even for me? Well, that's what we're going to find out today with today's review of Taito Milestones, a brand new Switch game of 40-year-old games. Before we get into the review, just remember, once we get to 100,000 subscribers, we're giving away a Nintendo Switch OLED model to one of you, so subscribe and you might win that, and we'll get there quicker. Let's just delve straight into the games. There are 10 in this package, and as we all know, Kicks is possibly the greatest game on Earth. I've actually only played the Game Boy version, so I was excited as anyone can possibly be for playing a 40-year-old game for the first time in its original form. And while I do enjoy calling Kicks a horror game because I'm quaint like that, it's actually the greatest game of chicken ever. You have to take territory of the arena by drawing lines which turns into shapes. You do so by avoiding the lines of death patrolling and the sparks that circulate the outer perimeter. It's incredibly simple, ball-achingly tense, and difficult, at least for me. You can either draw fast or slow, and you get more points for going slow. I'm rubbish at it, but let me tell you, I could, in all honesty, play Kicks forever. I mean, I had to force myself to stop playing this in order to get on with sampling the other games in this package. And unlike most of the 10 games in this collection, Kicks is only one of 3 not to get a standalone arcade archives release as of yet on the eShop. Despicable! It's an absolute classic and is easily the star of the show in this package. Elevator action. We all like a bit of action in an elevator once in a while. It's a speedrunner's real life dream. But no, not that kind of action. This is the kind of action movie action where you shoot people. This has always been a bit of a classic for me. However, I've never played the arcade version. As a super secret agent, you zipline onto the top of a high-rise and make your way down, picking up secret documents from red doors, all the while shooting and kicking shady dudes while riding elevators and escalators. It's incredibly tense, always full of close calls when it comes to dodging bullets. It's great, but you know, if you're a super spy, at least put some trousers on before you go on your secret mission. Has the man got no dignity? This does have a standalone arcade archives release on the eShop. The Ninjawarriors is a pretty high-profile release, getting a pretty decent Super Nintendo port and remake on the Nintendo Switch a few years back. The arcade game, however, is pretty arse. I've never played any of them, to be honest, but this is an incredibly boring side-scroller where you just strut towards the right while kamikaze soldiers, dogs and robots try to run into you. I do love how casually your ninja just genuinely doesn't give a monkeys about what's going on. They're just like casually walking down the street like they're gonna pick up some milk and bread from the shops. You can even do the duck walk. Yes, this does have an individual arcade archives release on the eShop. Halley's Comet is a vertical shooter, and of all the shooters type stuff here, it's actually the best. It's actually a very competent shmup. Of course, it's still old and has some basic attributes, but that doesn't stop it from being a rather decent enough time. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but it's one that I'd be happy to play once in a while, and this does have an individual arcade archives release on the eShop. The Fairyland Story is a bit of a precursor to Bubble Bobble. With 100 levels, it's probably the longest lasting game on this list, unless you've wired up your brain to play Kicks for infinity. It's a bit more basic and less charming than Bubble Bobble, but as a starting point, it's pretty cool. You're a little witch who's been attacked by monsters, and you can use your magic attack to turn them into yummy looking cakes, and then push them off a ledge to destroy them, and gain big points by squashing more enemies with that cake. It's not quite Bubble Bobble in terms of classiness, but it's a stepping stone, and I'd be happy to play this again. This does have an individual arcade archives release on the eShop as well. Chack'n Pop. More like crap and poop. Look, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get vilified by a few 50-year-old dudes out there, but seriously, if there is a game where I'd have an equal chance of doing just as well if I play with my toes rather than my fingers, well, this is it. Chack'n Pop is an escape the maze type game where you must collect hearts in order to open up the exit. The maze is patrolled by monsters that you can defeat. It's a decent concept, except the controls make you want to vomit. It has mind-bendingly stupid momentum-based movement where if you press forward once, you keep going until you bump into something. And let's not forget about the ridiculousness of switching between top and bottom of the platform for extra arsery. I mean, seriously, I don't have time for a whole rant about how bad Chack'n Pop is, but trust me, honestly, it is a bad game. And this is not Taito Milestones, this is more like kidney stones. There is no individual arcade archives release, and thank God. Alpine Ski is a simple game, the kind of game we all used to play on web browsers during IT class at school when the teacher wasn't looking, or like mine, Mr. Green, who didn't give a monkey's what we did during class. Here you ski down a mountain, avoiding obstacles and picking up bonus points. I have to admit, I majorly suck at this game. Maybe I'm using the high speed button a bit too much, but you know, I prefer living fast and dangerous. There is also questionable hit detection. I mean, you can hit things that are already technically behind you. Aside from clunkiness at every angle, I do find it quite a bit addictive, just having one more go, and I can see that with a bit of practice, I might actually be able to get good at it. And this does have an individual Arcade Archives release. Wild Western is one of two games here with rotary controls, basically a rudimentary twin-stick shooter. Here you play as a sheriff trying to defend a train from bandits on horseback. You rotate your shot direction with the right analog stick, all the while keeping an eye out on the terrain ahead for any cactuses that might prick your horse in the arse. It takes quite a bit of practice, and although I'm not entirely sold on it, I think with a little more practice it might be rather fun. This does have an individual Arcade Archives release. Frontline is the other rotary game, and it's basically Ikari Warriors before Ikari Warriors existed. We all know Ikari Warriors is a bit bobbins, let's face it, even the arcade ones it's a bit shit. But this chunky game does have a bit of ropey charm to it, with soldiers doing gangster style shooting. There's a bit of simple fun, although probably not a game I will return to, giving me too many bad memories of Ikari Warriors. This does have an individual Arcade Archives release. And finally we have Space Seeker, which is an ancient but interesting shooter that changes from first-person shooting to side-scrolling shmup. It's a bit naff, if I'm being honest. The first-person shooting is rather blasé about what constitutes as hitting an enemy, and the side-scrolling shooter is just mental for the sake of being mental. No Arcade Archives release on this one, and you're honestly not missing out. Now, 10 games. 10 games might seem a little bit tight, and me, as a British person, know all about being tight. It's my specialty. I'm the kind of guy who conveniently needs the bathroom when the bill arrives. When looking back at some of the previous Taito releases throughout history, it seems like they've tried to go for quality over quantity this time around. Rather than packing 70 games like they did into 2 volumes on the PS2, they've gone for 10, the best of the best, which is kind of worrying if Chack'n Pop is here. I mean, just look at their Wikipedia page and it's mental how many arcade games they made during the Stone Age of gaming. And also, having a look at the price, I don't know what the Western plan price is when it hits the eShop, but Taito seem to think these games are made of gold or something. Pricing is a meaty 5,720 yen in Japan, which is about $50 US, 36 pounds. I find it hard to believe they'll go with that pricing. Strictly Limited have their physical pre-order at 40 euros. I don't know what it's going to be at retail. I mean, you know, each individual Arcade Archives game is $8, so actually you are saving a little bit if you plan on getting them all, even discounting Chack'n Pop. So it's technically saving money, even if it seems steep. But that's clutching at straws. Now this is coming to retail at some point in the West alongside the digital release. Whenever that may be, I have no idea. But it is on the Japanese eShop right now as stated with English, alongside a physical release already out in Japan with English. If you want to purchase that before the Western release, then consider using the links below where you can import a copy for yourself. If you click those links and purchase it, it also supports us at the same time, so thank you ever so much in advance. If you click our link in return, you can also get a very nice 5% off any physical item from PlayAsia if you use our current discount code GETPhysical. That's all one word, GETPhysical, and you can get 5% off any physical item from PlayAsia as long as it's not already discounted. This code will change in a month's time or so, so if you're watching this in the future, then check the description of this video for our updated code, or our weekly video series every Monday, the Let's Get Physical series, where I'll be sure to update you on the latest discounts. I've also popped some eShop credit down there too, if you fancy buying it early digitally. It is worth noting that this package, all of the games are based on your standard Arcade Archives release from Hamster. It's exactly those kind of releases, and you can expect the same kind of thing aside from the usual caravan mode. I don't know why that's missing, but Internal options are there, such as adjusting controls, screen options, filters, the usual stuff. Plus, you know, it's decent emulation when it comes to that company. I mean, their entire existence depends on these kind of releases. If you bought any of their releases before, like I have, you kind of know what to expect. Overall, the question really is, how much do you like Kicks? Because this release is basically Kicks with a bunch of other games alongside it. To give the collection credit, Kicks is the shining beacon supported by the tense, no-trouser thriller of elevator action, the simple one more time gameplay of Alpine Ski, the kind of bubble that's not bubble, Fairyland Story, Wild West and Halley's Comet, they have their merits too. Only 10 games seems slightly stingy when looking back at previous releases, and many of these are available individually on the eShop too. When will Kicks get that individual release? I'm not going to give a score at the end of this review because it's more like an overview, and to be fair, it's got Chack'n Pop, so that's an instant 0 out of 10. But, you know, make up your mind, you know what you're getting. Old ass games, are these games worth it to you? A score would be completely superfluous. These are old ass games. The package as a whole is minimum, with little in the way of extra material like art, flyers, advertisements or anything like that. It's 10 ROMs that are professionally done without all the extra fluff that you'd find in other package collections. So yeah, make up your own mind for once. It's a bit of a pricey novelty release in my opinion. Are you 50 years old? Do you remember gaming before Mario, and do you miss that time? Well, maybe this will help answer your question. Alright, many thanks for watching this review, or maybe I should say overview, of Taito Milestones plus 1 kidney stone. Big up to our executive producers, Dane Wilkinson, God of Resin, Boombox, Brett McLean, Jonathan Rumo, Santa Tartaruga, Alexander Cato, J-Cross7776, Elisa, Punky Dooster, Michael Del Polito, Cartoon Soren, Robotech Z, Raven Knight, Thorn Metal Luna, Parsnip Coffee, Government, Fat Cat, Isa, V, Mental Traveler, and Grantser. Plus you, yeah, you, watching right now. If you watched all the way through, give me a trouser emoji for the elevator action dude, because damn, he must be chilly by now. Also, you know when things get tense, your junk also gets tense too, so he's probably not doing himself much justice. No wonder he shoots all the people who see him. Anyways, I'm rambling. Please consider using the purchase links below if you want to import the early copy. Plus, check out some other stuff that we do. Weekly Switch physical releases on Monday, digital bargains on Sunday, plus some other stuff. Go check it out.